Hello all. I'm glad Elon Musk bought Twitter, but not because I'm an Elon Musk fanboy or anything. In fact, I hate the guy for reasons that aren't what this video is about. No, I'm glad he bought Twitter because he killed it. First, let me explain the situation for those who somehow don't know. A few weeks ago, after months of anticipation, Elon Musk finally purchased Twitter for $44 billion. Since becoming its new CEO, he has instated a lot of changes that have been quite negatively received. The most infamous of these changes has been the verification check reform. You see, previously you'd get a verification check if you're famous enough that you need to prevent people from impersonating you, but now you need to pay $8 for a verification check. The worst part of this may initially seem the fact that you need to pay $8 for a stupid virtual blue check. However, that isn't the worst part. Instead, it's the fact that any old schmuck with $8 to spare can buy a blue check mark regardless of who they are. Because of this, people are now purchasing blue checks to impersonate famous companies and people and tweeting things that could ruin their reputation. The most famous case of this has to be the Eli Lilly drama. You see, Eli Lilly is an insulin company, and somebody purchased a blue checkmark and impersonated them on Twitter, tweeting that insulin was now free. Of course, in the US, insulin costs a lot, but nevertheless. Because of this, Eli Lilly lost billions of dollars. And as funny as this may be, it's not a good look for your website when it's your fault that this happened. It's also ironic how the original purpose of the blue checks to prevent impersonations has been flipped on its head completely. Other changes Musk have made include the firing of lower tier employees deemed superfluous and really they're imperative to the site's function, the deletion of parody accounts despite his whole free speech thing, and also the alleged deletion of the communications department. All these things combined, and it may seem inevitable that Twitter will die out, which is why I'm glad he purchased it, so that Twitter could finally die. However, it may seem like a pretty bold thing of me to say that I'm glad Twitter died out, so why do I want Twitter to die? Well, for many reasons. Firstly, Twitter is a terrible way to communicate. For a site whose primary purpose is to help people communicate, it sure does suck at it. Replies. When you reply to a post, all the other replies are stuck into one chain. It's impossible to have a decent discussion with someone when all the replies are stuck into the same chain, because if someone else were to reply to the post, they interrupt whatever discussion is going on, stopping it before it can end properly. You need to have different chains. However, that's hardly all that's wrong with communication on Twitter. There's no dislike button. There's no way to tell a person that their post is bad. Well, there is the ratio, but it's about as useless, stupid, as much as it is frequent. There's no edit button, which is a horrible idea in both theory and practice. Imagine if every YouTube video we saw was unedited. It'd be horrible. Then there's a character limit. Its original purpose was to keep people concise and succinct, but if there's anything the internet is worse at, it's being concise. Instead, people either don't say enough, causing anger due to miscommunication, or they just have a whole chain of posts saying a really long tweet, bypassing the character limit and defeating its purpose. All these combined just cause the users to be angry all the time, and a site in which everybody is angry is a terrible site to be on, which is a nice segue to my next point. Twitter culture is toxic. As mentioned, the communications issues on Twitter cause everybody to be angry all the time, and negativity breeds negativity, so this just creates an anger loop. And an anger loop is bound to bring dire consequences. Case in point, cancel culture. Everybody knows it and everybody hates it. It's a system in which people can get boycotted completely for an honest minor mistake. And no, I'm not trying to defend anybody who are legitimately terrible that have been affected by cancel culture. I'm just talking about, normal people who have been canceled for small blunders. That's not all the attitude of Twitter users. Their anger can cause them to forget the fact that they're talking to a real person and just think of them as bots and not give them the respect they need. Of course, this does happen on pretty much every other social media site, but I believe it's most prominent on Twitter. Also, if any of you are about to say that if Twitter gets deleted, all the negative people are just going to go to other sites, at least the population of those negative, toxic people will be dispersed out more instead of just all being condensed like on Twitter. There's also a subcategory of Twitter culture, and while it's not a huge problem, it really annoys me and I just want to rant about for a bit. It's brand Twitter. You see, for the longest time, brands on Twitter would just post adverts 24/7, but that changed around 2016, when the Wendy's Twitter account famously started roasting their fans when they started complaining about them on Twitter. Now, this was a funny idea initially, as it was novel to see companies act like this. However, this idea of being hip, relatable, and funny has been ran into the ground. Every brand now has some 20-something-year-old who's sarcastic running their Twitter account, trying to be relatable and funny, and the thing is people fall for this. But they're not relatable, nor are they funny, because brands aren't people. That's all for the rant. In conclusion, I hate Twitter. I'm glad Elon Musk purchased it because he made horrible changes and he killed it. Maybe that was his original intention. I don't know. Comment below if you like this commentary style. And that's all for me. Good night.